Hi guys, good evening, good morning, good night from wherever you guys are connecting from. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Hear me. Hi friends, family, loved ones. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're connecting from. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to tonight's episode, guys. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Please feel free to invite your friends, your loved ones, your family, because tonight's episode is going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a blessed one. It's going to be amazing, guys. Raise your voice and shout. Come on. YouTube. Everywhere. TikTok. Non-stop. So guys, let me know in the comment section, where are you guys joining us from? I would love to identify with you and I would love to give you a shout out. Where are you guys connecting from? Put in the comment section, let me know where you're connecting from. Thank you for always joining us. God bless you guys. Elochuku Emmanuel Okose, Toronto, Canada. Thank you for joining us. God bless you. Thank you. Titus Bisha Hope, thank you for joining us tonight from Taraba. God bless you. Akoni from Nigeria, Ocean State. Oh, guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. We will burn for Jesus. We will shift the culture. We will heal the sick. Adeni Joseph, welcome. Rochester, UK. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Joshua Kupola, for joining us tonight from Kwara State. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. Osamui, Osarui, thank you for joining us tonight from Benin City, from Iyanopaja, Ajawale. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Brian Selemni from Malawi, thank you for joining us tonight. God bless you. It's such an honor to have you on the show tonight. I promise you, it's gonna watch the time. It will watch the time. Thank you guys for joining. This is Rush for Christ podcast, where we dive into real stories of impactful individuals who inspires, through their remarkable resilience and unwavering faith in God. I am your host, Rasheedat Ajibade. I'm a professional football player. I'm a passionate believer in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and as you all know, I be fine girl. We love Jesus. So, guys, keep putting in the comment section where you're connecting from. As you do so, God bless you. So, guys, welcome. So, guys, before we get started tonight, please note that at the end of this session, we'll be having a Bible quiz. And if you win those Bible questions correctly, you stand a chance to win a prize. And we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible so you can claim your prizes. On tonight's episode, let me build your expectations. On tonight's episode, we'll be exploring our guest's extraordinary journey, the sacrifices he has made, the struggles he has overcome, and how he's been able to navigate his journey to the top. We'll be discussing how to overcome significant challenges and setbacks in business, how to identify new opportunities, staying ahead of trends in the evolving world of real estate, and building a personal brand that stands out. And finally, we'll explore how our guests effectively balance the spiritual values in the pressure of the business world. Guys, tonight's episode is going to be a blessed one. It's going to be an inspiring one. It's going to be a great one. You don't want to miss it. So feel free to invite your friends, your loved ones, your family to be a part of this show tonight. Thank you. I can still see you putting your where you're connecting from in the comment section. Thank you for connecting. I promise you tonight's episode, it's gonna watch your time. You will come back and tell me thank you. So tonight we are honored to welcome a man whose story is a living testimony of God's grace, grit, and God's guidance. It's a true embodiment of faith from the humble beginnings in Nigeria to building a multi-billionaire real estate empire with a global presence. He's a serial entrepreneur, an author, a philanthropist, and a real estate guru. He is the visionary founder of GTEX Global Group, chairman of GTEX Holdings, a multinational company with interest in real estate, agriculture, media, and digital marketing. And he's the founder of Stephen Akintayo Foundation. He's a renowned He's renowned for his outstanding achievements. Our guest has received numerous prestigious accolades, including the 2023 Forbes Best of Africa Leading Investment Coach Award, Mentorship Excellence Award, and is the CEO's Network Special Recognition Award. He received the CEO Special Recognition Award in 2024, among many others. His impressive collection of honors reflects his remarkable impact and influence as a leading figure in the world of business and beyond. But beyond business, he is a man of humility. I can attest to that. A billionaire, a role model, a husband, and a loving father. He's also a passionate believer in kingdom impact, using wealth as a tool for transformation and influence. Whether it's mentoring young leaders, empowering entrepreneurs, or giving generously through his foundation, Dr. Stephen Akitayo is driven by a deep desire to see people rise and fulfill their God-given potential. So please join me welcome the one and only Dr. Stephen Akintayo to Rush for Christ.
Okay. Good to be here. I
Good
hope you
evening,
can hear
sir.
me well.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me well? You can hear me.
No. Oh, is it from my head?
I can
I
hear
can
you
hear
very
you
well.
Okay,
very
now,
well.
now, perfect, sir. Now,
Okay.
good evening,
Okay,
sir. How
good.
are you,
Good
sir?
evening. How are you?
I'm well, sir. I'm doing well, sir. How are you,
It's
sir?
good to be here, and God is your strength. I think you were in Nigeria some
No,
days
sir.
ago.
Yeah, some days ago, yes, I am, but I'm
You
back.
guys had a match.
Yeah. Yes, sir, for sure.
Nice.
How was the travel, sir? Hope it wasn't so stressful.
I'm still at the airport. It was a funny. Those of us who are travelers, it can be funny. So I thought my flight was 9 a.m. Apparently it was 9 p.m. So I got to the airport very early, as early as after 6. and only to be told it's 9 p.m. Tried to reschedule it for
Wow.
11:50 something. They put me on waiting list, but the flight was full. So I'm just at the airport lounge all day at the airport lounge, but it's okay. This is
Uh,
why we need private jets.
yeah, 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 very important, sir. Very important. I know that very soon that would be in place by God's grace.
Amen.
Important, sir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for taking our time. How's the family, sir? How's work? How's everything
Good,
generally?
good. And you?
I'm well. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. We had a game yesterday against Barcelona, final match in the Copa del Reina. Unfortunately,
Nice.
it was a very tough game, but yeah, it was
Oh,
a good match
what was the
for
score? What was the score?
2-0, 2-0. They won 2-0.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we took the silver medal. We go again next season. I mean, I'm leaving the club, but yeah, I wish them good luck for next seasons. And
Where are you living to?
off
Not,
record.
you're not sure yet. Okay, no problem. Let me not bother. It's
Not,
okay. We'll
not,
talk off record.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because I'll let you know how everything unfolds from my hand. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Let us just get started into it before I know that very soon maybe they can organize your flight and you'll be flying very soon. So, sir, can you please walk us through your background from growing up in Gonje? Is it Gonde? Gonde,
Gonge, gonge.
Gonge area of
Uh,
Maiduguri, Borno State of Nigeria, in what many people could would call a very challenging environment. What was life like for you
mm.
uh, during this moment, sir?
Well, it was humbling. It was a village. There was no running water. There was no electricity. I was just outskirts of Meduguri, and so we trek like I don't know 5 kilometers or so before we get to the third road, and then we take a bus to school. Because it was so much a village, there was no school in that entire area. But it was humbling, and I think I tell people I'm happy I had that background. Um, it you Poverty sometimes can be an advantage,
Mm,
particularly if you're a more balanced human being if you've tasted nothing and you've tasted wealth, right? And it helps you to because life in itself is ups and downs. Really, there is not constant up. Even in business, I tell people when you look at your monthly revenue as a company it's like this, it's zigzag, right? It's not constant up. It's usually sometimes zigzag. You do well this month, for another 3 months, you may come down at some point, you go back up again. Um, but it was a very humble beginning. My mother was a civil servant. She worked with NEPA, what we now call PACN, I think. It's now called Genco. My
yes, sir.
father's business had crumbled before I was born. So he continued to be a prophet in the White Garment Church, but there wasn't any salary. So my mother had to use that small salary to take care of 5 children. Most virtually every day, we are not guaranteed of dinner. So most times when we close from school, my mom will ask us to come to our place of work, hoping now because she was an accountant there and she was just a good woman. And so most people will come to the station that they've cut their lights. So she'll be like, okay, how can you pay? Let me walk around the payment plan for you.
Mm,
Right. So maybe the person is owing in those days, maybe the person is owing 2,000 naira and say he only has 200. Okay, if you pay 200 now, can you be paying every week like that? And by the time she's done, they are so grateful and she will make sure the people who need to go and reconnect those people's lights go and reconnect it. I was still in Medical in 2019 and somebody still confirmed how she helped him and she didn't know him. People will just tell you when you get to the station, ask for Mamolu, and they will reconnect your light no matter how long.
uh,
So at the end of the day, some of them will be feel generous, give her 5 naira. In those days, 5 naira is a lot of money. Some give 10 naira, and so we wait. We close from school because our school to our place of work is not far, and she's trusting God that she will help somebody and then they will be generous. And that money is what she'll go and buy pepper, buy this, and then give it to us to take home
Wow.
so that we have something to eat for dinner. It was that kind of humble background.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. That was truly humbling, sir. So tell me
Yeah.
about mom. You mentioned that your mom has more or less your mom has been your greatest inspiration, and how has our presence and guidance influenced the person you are today? And what role did she play in shaping your character, values, and aspirations that have propelled you towards becoming the successful man that you are today?
A lot, a lot. My mom, you can call her a poor woman, but she was generous. I've never seen someone like that. With this situation, I'm telling you, two of our siblings' children were living with us in the village. This
Wow.
was a room and a parlor. So the room she and my dad will sleep in, the parlor we all sleep in, and we sleep on the floor on the mat. But we still had two of our siblings' children living with us.
That's like seven.
Exactly. At some point, seven, yes.
Wow.
That is the kind of generosity of my mom, right? People will come do NYC with her in place of work. When they are closing, my mom that will say she wants to buy cake for them, do card when they are passing out. She was just this generous woman. And I learned that from her. And I think it's helpful in my life today because a lot of the way people think I'm richer than I really am because of the generosity. And people just think this guy has all the money in the world. I don't think so. But I learned from my mom how to just carry yourself. And with all of that, the dignity, my mom would never covet anybody's money. She's willing to, even with that, she would buy beans in the north, send it, during because towards the end of the year, the prices of those beans will have gone up. So she would buy it early. She had all manner of businesses. So I learned entrepreneurship from her. Um, I learned meekness from her. My mom was one of the meekest human beings I've ever met. Extremely meek. And I learned dignity. How to live your life with dignity. You will today, even in business, sometimes when I look at our company and some other company who are bigger than us, and when I hear some of the owners of those companies are jealous of us, I just shake my head like, how did I get you that you are like 10 times bigger than us to be like, I'm looking up to you. But it's
Yeah.
because of the way you carry yourself. And I learned that from my mom. You know, you carry yourself with dignity. You make sure that you are willing to give value for anything you want in exchange. You learn contentment. Despite all of that, we're not jumping from one neighbor's house to the other to beg for anything. We were taught that way. We would be in our house, whether we had TV or we didn't have TV, whether we had light or not. We were just contented within that environment because we also never saw my mom jumping from one person's house to another. She barely didn't have friends. So it created that. And I today, I mean, looking at life, I see people who have so much but they are not contented. I see people successful but they are sad. I see people, and that's why when sometimes people look at someone like me, they think you are proud because you are grateful for what you have. And they are like, we will get 20 times. How many times did we sing praise and worship for anything?
Yes.
Let's say get we did, but
Yeah, I can relate.
it's from that perspective of who am I that I even have this? God has been faithful. Looking from where I'm coming from. Who dashed my monkey banana? That I travel all over the world. The only person in my entire lineage to ever leave Nigeria was my father, and it was federal government that sent him on pilgrimage to Jerusalem. In my entire lineage, I
Wow.
can tell you
Not
records,
family, like lineage.
lineage.
Wow.
If I give you record I've broken in my father's house, right? Record. So when you know where you are coming from and you see how far God has helped you, you do not talk like everybody else. You do not live like like you don't focus on what you don't have. You are grateful. And the way you carry that which you have, Everybody then thinks sometimes, what's wrong with him? Because I mean, is it me that, like I said, nobody has ever left Nigeria in my lineage? I now own houses, in Dubai, in US. I mean, these are unbelievable things, right? Unbelievable things. But if you're not careful, people see it as arrogance. People see it as, some of us, we own 20 houses. That is you. Our stories are different. Our backgrounds are different. And the way we approach life is going to be different from you.
Wow, 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 wow. We'll not even get started already, but the energies, the atmosphere is pumped up already. Yeah. So I'm looking at the environment that you grew up from.
Yeah.
People, most people give up when life gets hard, but you didn't. I mean, looking at your humbling beginning, the kind of places where because where I grew up from, you will see children doesn't even expect their parents.
Yeah.
Children grew up the way they want it. The environment
Yeah.
shaped the way they want, not the way their parents want to
Yeah.
them to
Yeah.
grow. So, what kept your hope alive in the midst of poverty and lack?
Mm. Powerful. I, I, I pe- I think it's books. I tell people don't know why I've written over 40 books now. The books I read, because I gave my life to Christ. So I went to a government secondary school. That was another terrible experience. Everybody was complaining about the school, the experience I was having. So after GSS1, my mom had no choice than to send me to this Christian private school. But in Kwara State, this was in Bashita in Kwara State. Now, in those places, private school is as good as government school. In fact, when they sent me the picture, I've told them to send me architecture. I want to help them rebuild the classes. When they sent me the pictures of where I went to school, I mean, Rashida, if I send it to you, you'll be shaking your head. And in those days, you don't even know something is wrong with it. you know, it's today I look at it, I'm like, no, we need to rebuild the school.
Wow.
But because it was a Christian school, uh, in the process, I gave my life to Christ. I was a teenager, I was barely 13 or so. And so and that then exposed me to reading. First set of books were books on hell and heaven, 24-hour interview in hell, God's General, was a lot of, and my mindset was, oh, Jesus is coming, rapture, it was all about rapture for, I think, the first 5 years of my being a Christian. But that helped me because at least I started reading. But in the course of that, by the time I was 17, I I just felt there must be more. I've read of this loving God. I've read about heaven. I've read about how the street of heaven is paved with gold. I mean, we can't still. Was a bit better by the time we moved to Kwara State, but we were still like still among the poorest within the circle we were in. Because my mother was now a middle level manager, but she still has to go to a junior at work to borrow money to pay for my tuition fee. And so that those things just kept me, something's wrong somewhere. So I think one of my cousins came around and he had started business. And because of he mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad as a book he read, and he had started business. So okay, I read the book, and that confused me further because I had asked my mom, why are we poor? My mom said she didn't have a university degree. And so our promotion at work was delayed. That if I could get a university degree, I'll get a good job and will be rich. So I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book said, no, you can't be rich by degree. And his own father had PhD and wasn't rich. And his friend's dad that he called the rich dad did not even go to school and is richer. And so he was teaching another different principle about wealth, asset classes, liability. So I was like, which one will I pick now? Somebody said go to school. Another person said, look, school cannot guarantee wealth. I said, well, I'm going to do both. I'll go to school, I'll start business, and see which one works for me. And so, of course, I started business at that age. I was very shy. I was a very shy person. I remember my first business was GNLD, was multi-level marketing um, supplements. So let's assume you are the client I'm trying to sell these supplements to. Let's assume this is a supplement. I will hold it like this. I will, because I can't look at you eyeball to eyeball. I said this supplement is very good. It contains so. It can help you gain energy. I was that shy, but I was also that determined, to follow a cause that can change the trajectory and change the story so that I don't repeat the same poverty circle of my parents. And that was the beginning, and I just kept at it. I kept failing at different businesses, kept failing. I've failed in almost 20 businesses, but I just kept at it until the heavens started opening up.
Wow. You mentioned now that you started your first business was GNLD. What were the most significant hurdles that you faced at that age when starting? Because I knew that based on the bio and everything, you started at 17 years. What were the significant hurdles that you faced at that age when starting, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, the first was my shyness. I used to be. Do you know I'm an introvert? People still don't know.
You don't look like this, sir.
I am. I am. And this thing has caused me so much trouble because on social media I look like an extrovert, but
Mm,
in real life I'm an introvert. So when you meet me in person, I'm very cool and calm. So you may confuse it for the guy is arrogant, right? The guy doesn't. Can you imagine him that was doing GGGG, or now we're meeting is just chill. What's he trying to prove? Well, but it's just who I am. And even to be as engaging as that on social, it was my coping mechanism because I was
yeah.
extremely an extrovert. I don't like going out. I don't do parties. I don't do, so how do I have to interact. I have to engage. I have to be social. And you can't live in this world in isolation. Particularly if you're going to build a great empire, you have to socialize. And so for me, it's a lot easier. I have a diploma in digital marketing, and one of my businesses became digital marketing. So I started helping businesses using social media. But the first challenge was my personality, being an introvert. It was a major challenge. But like I said, social media helped me with that. Leadership also helped me with that because I pastored on campus, and because I pastored, my fellowship on campus, I had people around me who also helped me with if I have business, my members, people were, pastor is doing business, let's help him, so all that helped in a way. I think the second hurdle was also the fact that, and believe this or not, I was very conservative, extremely conservative at the beginning of my business. And he worked against me, particularly when we moved into real estate, because here am I selling property worth a lot of money, but you can see me on an Okada. I'm that simple. Yes, I drove the same car for more than 7 years, and the car wasn't looking good, and yet I was buying properties, thousands of plots. I'll come show you massive land that I own, and you'll be like, are you sure? People who own this kind of thing, you know, they are, and it's still haunting me to today because you see people say rich people don't behave the way this guy is behaving, right? Wealthy people don't, they are not this free. They are not. Everybody
Honestly,
wants to put you in a box, and just there's a box for successful people. And I argue that that's the box we painted. Elon Musk is always tweeting and is the richest guy in the world. Okay? Why haven't you complained about that? Okay, at some point he was jumping up and down during the election for Donald Trump. You know, is once is an African that is we call it, I call it the purple cow principle, because that was one of the strategies I then had to do. I realized I had a lot of limitations. um I wasn't from, one of my challenges was capital. I wasn't from a rich background. I didn't have uncles. Today now people see me, Cosmos Maduka, Bishop Oyedepo, Obasanjo, all of these people. It was in the last 5 years that I had to network upward. But at that point, I had something to show for them to say, this young man grew on his own. Now we are ready to support him, And that's why a lot of my mentors, there's nothing, they will defend me till Jesus come. Like, because for them, it's like, how come a young man grew? One of the women that love my story so much is the former deputy governor of Lagos State, Miss Sarah Shoson. And her argument of each time she sees me is that, we know people who had parents that were successful, who could just leverage on their parents' name and make it, but they are not making it. You have no parent name to leverage on. You have nothing to leverage on. You build something, right? We are proud. She's always, we are proud of you. We are proud of you. And so for me, that was also an issue, because for many, many years, people didn't even know, okay, who can we even hold if something goes wrong with this guy? Right? We don't know anybody to him. But even my father-in-law, that was his concern. When I went to meet him to marry his daughter, he kept asking me, okay,
Sorry, sir.
thank you. Who are your parents? I mentioned nothing ring bell. Okay, so what church do you go to? Incidentally, he used to attend Winners. So when I said Winners, oh, he was happy. So I started mentioning some big names in Winners. Those I still didn't know those ones. So at some point I thought, this is not a responsible guy. I can't leave my daughter to somebody that. Hey, okay, if anything goes wrong with my daughter, who do we know with this guy that we can even hold? And so that was the kind of challenge I battled with. But again, I always say my avatar name is called the Eagle. I'm Eagle for a reason. I I've learned to just soar in the midst of storms. I've learned to just figure out a way to, because the cup is either half full or half empty, right? It's either half full or half empty. And you can look at it and say, even though this looks like a disadvantage, right? I can spin it in another way and leverage on it, and it become a springboard to the next level. And for me, those were some of the things I had to do with all this challenge. I can go on and on, but let me stop here.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So you mentioned something very important. You said you started with nothing. When you started out your business, you started with nothing. And how did you started building something from nothing? Because I know that a lot of people connected with us right now that have nothing, they're in their zero level, and they're like, how can I also be who I want to be? Because they have a lot of people they're looking up to, and they're like, I'm just stuck. Some are depressed, some are uh, just in the middle of I don't know what to do. How do I start from I don't have capital? A lot of people just use that excuse of I don't have capital, I don't know what to do. So you started with nothing, and of course you're a great example and great model for that. And of course I know that you'd have a blueprint for somebody who has nothing right now and wants to start, and how they can also become something in life as well. So how were you able to start your business with nothing and build into this level that you are today?
Well, I would say, for me, I, I always say that everybody has something. We may not have capital, but we have something. You have God, you have grit, you have intellect. Another word is compensation advantage. We all have something called compensation advantage. Sometimes you may not be very social, but guess what that then does? It means you are laser focused. You can concentrate on one thing. Because somebody else is very social, But the disadvantage of being social is that he has PTSD, no, not even PTSD. He has ADD, attention disorder, right? Because it's just all over, right? So for me, it was looking at, okay, how do I do the impossible with the available? Our,
Okay.
our, our bulk SMS business started with just 1,000 naira. I had a fellowship who gave me 700 naira, and then I added 300 naira to it. I didn't even have a laptop. In those days, we used Cyber Cafe. So I had to go to Cyber Cafe to help them push, SMS was a major means of marketing then. You have a conference, you get the number of every attendee, and you push SMS, giving them the venue, the details, the reminder. And that was how I started that particular business. And from having few clients to later, okay, I need to have my own website instead of using somebody else's website. So I approached the man I used to use his website. I said, can you build a website for me? He said 15,000 naira. I think I first paid him either 10,000 or 5,000. I did installment payment. Eventually, I got my website. So now I didn't need to use his website. Now, people, instead of sending me the number and what they need, they can just go straight to my website. We buy their SMS, send their SMS. It became almost automated. Years later, I said, a lot of people started saying, how can I do this business too? So I reached out to the same guy and said, can I create other website under my own website so that some people can start this business to make money, I make money? And he said, yeah. So he will charge me 15,000. I will charge them 25,000. Right. Some of them, sometimes I do promo for 20,000 or 21,000. And then we start building websites. Then later again, I learned how to do the website myself. So I told him, can you teach me how to do this website instead of asking you to do it? And so I do the website myself. Later, I employ more staff. Before you know it, I've done over 5,000 websites, me and my staff, helping people build websites for business, for bulk SMS, you know. And by 2015, we're a household name. Chivita, PZ, Unilever, all presidential candidates were our clients, governorship candidates, everybody. I like were the household name in that business. Whether it's email marketing, social media marketing, when it comes to doing, and that's why people don't know why I'm active on social media today because we pioneered that industry. We're the ones building blogs. A lot of the popular blogs today, we're one of those who built their first blogs for them, right? But that 2015, 10 years ago, I said, what's next? And I think people should learn this. It's one of the powerful things I tell people. At your peak, right, is when you should diversify. Unfortunately, most people don't think of the tough times when they're at their peak. They just feel it's just going to keep going great like that. So for me, I looked at it. We had the peak of this business. What's the next thing? So I went to Silicon Valley. When I saw Facebook campus was over 250 acres, Google campus was, I said, these people are doing real estate.
Hmm.
They're not just tech guys, though. And when I went to Yahoo campus Yahoo had just been sold that time. And I saw that those who bought it, it was the real estate they were buying because they were not changing the logos. When I was on that campus, they were changing a lot of things to the new owners. So I said, these people are buying real estate, right? So I said to myself, I'm coming back to Nigeria and I'm taking this real estate to the next level. Uh, Prior to that, I used to just be a property agent. I get commission for selling properties for people. And our first estate too was just water. Water. The man gave me, he had 250 acres. He couldn't sell it. He came for my training on how to use the internet to sell. So he said, you're a man of integrity. You know how to sell. I'll give you 50 acres. As you sell, pay me. I was so excited, only to get to the land and see it was water. The water got to my ankle, right? And so, how do I sell water? So when we bring customers for inspection, we'll be pointing at trees and be saying, that's where our land will start from. And one of my university mates, when I took her there, I said, okay, how far show you? But I said, Stephen, oh me re, you only run me now. I can't buy water. Today now we've filled that place. We've even done fence on that land. And what used to go for 750,000 naira at that time, we're selling it for almost 30 million today. and 10 years later. And it's a big lesson that do the impossible with the available. A
Hmm.
lot of us are always looking at what we don't have instead of try to do something great with what we have. We're busy with, oh, I don't have this. And it's easy to complain. It's easy to live your life in a murmuring and grumbling way. And funny enough, those things sell more. This murmuring and grumbling, it sells more. If you start a blog now complaining about everybody, people want to support you, but good news is hard to sell. Hard
Yeah.
work is hard to sell. Work, doing something significant in the midst of nothing is hard to do, but to just complain, people even clap for you and say PhD. I mean, each time I get the highest number of compliment on my posts on social media is maybe when I'm complaining about government or complaining about something. The day I post something positive, maybe one or two little, but
Oh, yeah.
once it's complain, everybody, hey, thank you for adding voice. But that complaint will not change anything. It won't. It won't change anything.
No, very true, sir, honestly. Because there are days when you hold to masterclass online, and these things are very beneficial for people to just key into. But you
Yeah.
see people streaming maybe a few hundred, 150, 200. But when it's something that has to do with, you see 1,000 comments, 300,000 likes. I mean, I don't understand people's psychology on that. So it's something that will benefit them. They don't. I don't really get it, sir. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That was so, so, so powerful and inspiring, sir. So, sir, lately there has been one or two issues around your page with your mentorship, mentorship
You
fee,
saw it.
which I was very happy when I saw that. I'm like, Rash, I'm gonna save for that money right now. I mean, people think as you play football, you can get more money and everything. Well, on paper, it might be like that on paper, but real life is not the truth. Taxes and everything, and women football is not that like easy to.
Yes. It's not like men football.
Yes,
Yeah.
so but what am I trying to say in essence is I will save my money at least by before December by God's grace, because I need to come on a mentorship program. That's because I can't wait to
We still have a business we are supposed to do together. You and I. These t-shirts, we talked about it when I hosted,
yeah,
remember?
that's true, sir. That's true. I felt maybe it's just an idea penned down and we'll just take it.
No. When I say something, I mean it too. Because
No,
we'll make a lot of money. Yeah, I know we'll make a
I'll
lot of
follow up then. I'll follow up with you on that note, sir.
money. Yeah,
So
yeah.
talking about that mentorship program, where it was 18,000, but now it's 25,000. So guys, you guys, just so you're aware, it's 25K. So go, keep going with the. So the question is, how do you handle public criticism? Because after that happened, a lot of people start dragging you, start criticizing. How are you able to handle such things?
Well, I think the first thing is to protect your mind. In fact, my wife and I just spoke recently and we were discussing the same thing. I was sharing with her how I built my mind in such a way. So one of the things I did when I was starting my journey was to I saw what and I was privileged that even when we were young, prophecy had gone to my parent that this your son is going to be famous and is going to be very wealthy. And I'm talking of since I was very little. When they come to our house, because we're a white garment, they always see vision. All my other siblings, they will say, fast on this one, do this one, this one. But when it comes to me, this your son is going to be very rich, he's going to be very famous. Pray that his destiny comes to pass. That's always been. So I then knew that the only part I need to play was to work hard, pay
Mm,
my play my part because the destiny was clear. Um, but one of the things I also then had opportunity for is to have had a spiritual mentor who was heavily criticized. So I had to do a lot of research on why that, you know, why these things. And so I was lucky to start learning that if you're going to rise to the highest top, criticism is going to be normal. It is you that has to work on yourself to have a thick skin to be able to carry it, to be able to understand that those things are even for the next level. You won't believe it. In the midst of all that, they showed my mentor one of those stuff. He looked at it, he laughed, and he told the person, he said, Stephen is about to experience a breakthrough. You know, he's about to experience a massive breakthrough. And he was speaking from experience. He said, people have no idea. Something huge is about to happen to that guy. Okay? And truly that's how I've had to go to people like that to learn. When you are being criticized, what is the sign? Is it that the end has come? I don't know. All of them explain how it's been the season of their breakthrough. One of my mentors said for 6 years, somebody literally was talking about him on TV for 6 years
Wow.
consecutively. Every week was, if I will bring his book on national television, so see what he said here. He would tear the book. He said, this is rubbish. There's nothing he would not call him. Say, this is a thief. It's all manner. And he said, in the midst of that, they were growing. They were growing. It was the
I
biggest
just
expansion. Yes, it was their biggest expansion.
uh
Right? It was their biggest expansion. So I have even been waiting for this year. The prophecy I received was that it was going to be a year of exceptional growth, but there will be heavy criticism. That was what God told me. So, in fact, January we did a meeting with all our team who work, our employees, and we even brought a speaker who explained to all of them that this year this company is about to experience unusual growth. And believe it or not, highest growth ever in January was this year. February was this year. March was this year. April,
wow.
like that. So, but by April, I had felt that maybe what God told me, the criticism part of it will not come out. Because every time I look up, towards the end of April, this one happened. I said, oh, no. 'Cause I've been preparing January, February. Okay, the Lord has told me. Okay, so I'm ready. But it's one of those things that the Bible says, rule down in the midst of thy enemies.
Yes. Hmm.
You will have people, and some of them are right. You see, some people can hate you for things that maybe you need to also work on.
Hmm.
Some will just hate you for no reason. Some is because they're just illiterate, they're not educated. For example, I was being told, somebody was complaining that, oh, our property in the US were farmland. And the person just didn't know that in even my house in Houston, I'm paying over $5,000 in taxes. And I've been told that if I can get some chicken, get some cow, I can just create a barn, put it there, I'll get agric exemption,
Yes.
and I can be paying less than $100 in taxes. So people who don't know that once you are not ready to build on a land, in Texas, you just farm on it. Right?
uh,
So the person, it's a farmland. They said they are selling farmland. You know, I've said this. I said, look, if ignorance is wisdom when the listeners, foolishness is wisdom when the listeners are ignorant.
hmm.
Everybody will just think, it's sense. So it's sense. So I was sharing yesterday in New Jersey. I said, all this, let me give you people advice. Don't be scammed. Don't be scammed. I said, people, show me one person who has become rich by not being scammed,
Hmm.
by not losing money. I mean, okay, Elon Musk now, this last week, just lost $35 billion. Him alone, not the whole of Tesla. So I have a quote that says that we are millionaires because we've lost millions.
Hmm.
We are billionaires because we've lost billions. We are thousandaires because we've lost thousands. Guess what? We are zeronaires also because we've lost nothing. Right?
Uh,
Wealth is a function of risk. You take risk. But Africans don't always want to hear that. Right? Once you lose your money. And so hey, and we love to get fear. Be careful, oh, don't do it, oh, hey. If I have been afraid, they showed me a land of water, and I did not buy that land that time. Are we going to even be here? Will we even be having this conversation?
hmm.
Right? Even in the last 5 years, we've acquired so much more estate in Nigeria. And people have been warning me, "No, Stephen, you finally are out of Nigeria. Don't invest in Nigeria again. Everything is gonna scatter." Today now, what's everybody shouting? Property land is too expensive in Nigeria. Is that not what they're sharing? But I bought some of those land when it was much cheaper. Because even though there was a Biafra will happen, Nigeria will divide. I stayed the course. Right?
Hmm.
I had a long time vision. I knew it was going to work. The same thing when we started buying properties here in the US. Someone would say, Trump may not win. If Trump win, the economy, even right now, it's not as if the US economy is better. But I can assure you from next year, you're going to see a different economy. You bet against the current. Smart investors buy when the market is low. When everybody is scared of buying, that's when they buy.
I
When
do like.
everybody wants to buy, that's when they sell. When everybody say, "Oh, the thing is good now," well, yeah, it's good to do, that's when they will chicken out. It's always opposite direction.
Hmm.
But again, I've realized that we are in a world where we want to play victim,
Hmm.
want to complain. We have one of our property, Ibejuleki, is where we have a cluster of a lot of estates in Lagos. But it's also where I've received the biggest beating in terms of real estate. When I started investing in Bejuleki, first estate, I lost it. I made deposit to take possession. I couldn't take possession. Second estate, couldn't before I knew it, I lost 200 million naira. Okay? But I won't give up. Today, when I look at some of the properties we bought in those areas for as low as 500,000, 1 million naira, today they are going for 40 million, 50 million, right? In a matter of 5 years. I'm like, wow. But I still have also some other places I lost totally. In fact, one of our estates now, at Sanfield, we had done fence. They started fighting each other. They even killed somebody on the land. I lost the entire thing. Another one, they were doing coastal road. They took 5 acres from it. Okay. But thank God the Surveyor General eventually approved the remaining portion of the land. Rather than come on national television like most of my colleagues have done, to say, we've lost money, we've lost over 350 million, wow. I felt to myself, at least we have some more. The
Well,
value of the one left has gone up. Let's move on, right? And that's my approach to life and business. But I realized that Nigerians love drama.
hmm.
We love drama. If you come now and say Tinubu is the devil, he took my land, I lost 350 million in Nigeria. They say, see, even that popular real estate guy, he lost.
You already mentioned it, sir. That's what sells. That's what people really want to buy. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing all of this. You made mention that wealth is a function of risk.
Yes.
How do you approach risk management and maintain resilience in the face of all of this setback that you face? Like you mentioned, you lost money and all of this. How do you approach risk and maintain resilience in the face of setbacks?
I think if you look at, it's a cast your bread on many waters,
Hmm.
and that scripture was very, very specific. Cast your bread on many waters. Many, not one water, not two, many. And if you go further in that scripture, you realize how he was saying that you never know which one will work. Right? It was so detailed about how this may work, this may not work. And that's one of the biggest strengths. When I saw the signs 2016, I said we needed to diversify. For me, the first thing was when the naira moved from 1,900 and some 1,090 to I think 400. I said, I can no longer be earning just in naira, and this is part of what led to this dollar whatever. Because one of the first thing I did is to dollarize every services I had, right? And then it was then we started expanding internationally, and I worked hard to build an international audience. One of the painful things was in the midst of that harassment over 18,000. Some of my clients who were Americans were commenting. I said, I paid Dr. Stevie for this. I got value. People were just insulting them. I mean, to assume everybody that follows me is a Nigerian, is insane. I
Hmm.
mean, is insane. And to limit me because I'm black, how many white people have abused Grant Cardone for charging $25,000 for 3 day conference? Is diamond ticket, and I pay every year. I've been paying for more than 4 years now. $25,000 for 3 days conference. I still was there in March. Now, how many white people have dragged Harvard University? I
Hmm.
just finished Unit 1 of my owner president management program with Harvard University. Each unit is over $50,000. The 3 units is over $150,000. How many people has dragged them to say, oh, why is Harvard Ivy League? And they said they want to help people, they want to transform leaders. Why are they charging that kind of money? But it is when you start university in Nigeria that people will be telling you that paying 2 million naira as school fees in Nigeria, which is the equivalent of less than $2,000, and you're already in the Ivy League. I don't know how you're, because universities, like, for example, like Covenant, is an Ivy League of Nigeria because that's
Hmm.
the number one private school in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6 in or 7 in Africa, 72 or 73 in the world
Wow.
in webometric ranking. That's an Ivy League. Okay, and then you are complaining that they are charging $2,000 or above when their equivalent in Harvard is charging
Thousands
over
of dollars.
$100,000,
Hmm.
right? And so we are in a world where we want to eat our cake and have it. We are not being honest with ourselves. We don't want to hear the truth, right? We don't want to listen to what does it cost for something to be quality, for something to be solid. You love the way Dr. Stevens speak. You love his insights on investment, on real estate, but you don't want to pay for it. You just think he should always teach it for free. But he didn't learn it for free. He also paid
Hmm.
for it. And he's not charging you what he is being charged.
Hmm.
My $20,000 is for a whole year. And those who are going through it have gotten so much value. You don't need to now look for every fake news to push out there just to discredit me
Hmm.
because I'm charging $20,000 for, for coaching. But the lesson I've said to people over and over again, if you're going to be great, be prepared for things like this. Be ready to enjoy it. Be ready to laugh at it. Be ready to make humor out of it. Um, Understand that you're already a trailblazer. You're already, setting a pace. And some people will come against you, but they're just going to help market you. Do you know in the midst of all of this, we have more people signing up for the coaching, which is shocking to me. I'm like, oh Lord have mercy. Okay. In the midst of it, we have more people doing business with us. So I'm like, okay, it's a bittersweet moment, but because on the one hand, people are dragging, on the other hand, more people are saying, that's the guy I want to do business with. That's the guy, so I hope I answered the question
No, you did,
because
sir. You did
because
it. You
I
did.
okay, because I knew I deviated a bit.
You did, sir. Oh, wow, wow. Thank you very much. So, what are some of the common misconceptions about investing, and how do you educate people to avoid these pitfalls?
I think number one is rumor, right? So I'll give an example. Somebody invested in Tesla, and so the broker, who happened to be my friend, told him, "Oh, you have $2 million. Let's put it on Tesla." And before you know, he put it on Tesla, and then Tesla was even doing not good. I think it was a bit going down. In fact, the first loss, the person panicked and said, "You told me to do Tesla. You told me to do Tesla. I want my money back. Let's withdraw." She did everything to beg him to say, "Okay, let's not take the entire 2 million. Maybe we should still leave some parts of it." Maybe he dropped. He now left 300,000, and then took the rest. Boom! That's how 300,000 turned to 1 million. The same guy was now calling her and saying, "Why did you force me to leave all the full money?" Why didn't you force me? You should have forced me. I say, force you how? You were the one that was shouting, you know, because by the time the news of, oh, Tesla's stock is crashing, oh, it will continue to crash. Oh, so when it comes to investment, the biggest challenge is rumor, because there's no guarantee that you won't hear news about a rich man. About, I mean, look at Dangote. Sometimes I look and I'm like, oh, this world no balance. Oh.
Hmm.
The recent celebration around Dangote in recent time, like, it's not the same Dangote. Just last year, if I was still having conversation with one of my mother, I was saying, the Dangote will back crash lórí this petrol business where you go do. And this my mom is part of those celebrating the same Dangote now. I'm like, these human beings. So
Uh-huh.
imagine you listen to all those rumors around Dangote,
Hmm.
and you are one of the investors in the oil business, is the refinery, and you went to collect your money back from Dangote. Imagine how you'll be regretting them. Because the whole of Nigeria is Dangote. In fact, if people can literally abuse if you don't buy Dangote petrol
Hmm.
now, you know, and it tells you that human beings are not balanced. You know, emotions cannot be relied on. Feelings cannot be relied on. Today I think you are good. Tomorrow I think you are evil,
Hmm.
and you have to understand that when you're doing investment, whatever you invest in, there will be seasons, good season, bad season, but study it, research about it, and once you are in, be in and locked it in. Warren Buffett said something powerful I'll never forget. So he said, I never invest in a stock I cannot keep for 25 years. I won't do it. Like,
Hmm.
if you can't buy it, if whether it goes down or it comes up for 25 years, he's not even going to invest to start with. So play for the long run. And those are the mistakes. So when you listen to gossip, when you allow your emotions to run, is number one mistake. Number two mistake is involving too much of families and friends. The
Hmm.
biggest people who make all of us panic, including myself, are your family members. And they do it out of genuine concerns, right? If there's a rumor about me now, the first person who is likely to send it to me will be my wife,
Hmm.
and it's out of genuine concern. And even when she sent it to me and I'm laughing, she, it's not a laughing matter. Why would they be carrying your name like that? We have to defend you. We have to fight. So we must be careful. That's why certain investments, even when my wife's name is on it, I don't necessarily tell her, oh, I'm doing this particular type of investment, because I know her mind will be on it. The day she hears anything negative about that investment, say, oh yeah, yeah, let's pull out, oh, let's pull out this thing, oh. So many of us family members are the problem,
Hmm.
right? One of the things some of my clients were sharing with me is how their relatives were sending them links and say, this guy, I know you invested with him. You better go and collect your money. Something's going on. Hey. 1 month later, Mobile died than it. You know, be careful. So I tell people, manage your family members' expectations.
Hmm.
Don't invest and go and tell your whole family, I have bought land in Ibejulekki. The day they hear anything happen in Ibejulekki, they are calling you already, right? Don't go and tell your family members to go and collect documents for you. I do a
Hmm.
lot of investments and I just do my thing. I have my lawyers. You can have your will with your lawyer. If anything goes wrong with you, they know who needs to get what. But you don't need to always call your family members who are not professionals in an investment about investment. It's the biggest mistake of people of color,
Hmm.
right? Your mom is not a professional in real estate, but she's the first to call to even seek counsel whether to buy a land or not, right? Your father is not a stockbroker, is not is not a stock expert, but it's one you call and say, hey, should I buy MTN shares? Or I'm thinking of buying it. What do you think? And we do that a lot, and it's the reason many of us have pulled out of some investment that will have changed our lives forever, because we get family. Maybe sometimes we do it to brag to them. Maybe sometimes we do it because we want to show them that we're being reasonable with our investment, we're investing. But one of the biggest crises I've seen people have when it comes to investment has been because they got their family members involved, and those ones, began to manipulate them consciously, unconsciously. Sometimes it wasn't intentional, but they were eventually responsible for how many of them lost. I remember when I started building my social media brand, my older brother used to laugh at me. He called me Oga CEO. That all this your social media noise. Guess who today keeps begging me to build his brand online? The same brother,
Ah,
right? So you need to know that there are some things that people will mock you at the beginning. But when it works, everybody comes and starts celebrating. But if you don't guide yourself well, they will have frustrate you to quit, right? When you needed to continue. And at the end of the day, you will now be regretting. And they won't even accept that they played a role in you missing out on something good when you are reminding them. Some of them will have even forgotten, you know.
yes, I can honestly relate with this last point that you just mentioned, that involving family members in some of these things. Because I remember growing up, when I was still in Nigeria, I used to have, they're like your father, one's father when we're growing up, but they're not my biological father. They'll say, "Ha, má lọ ralẹ̀ sí ilẹ̀ olómi o." In one Lekki, Lekki is what you
Yes,
want to buy.
yes,
Go there and buy land. I'm like, today, Lekki
yeah,
is big. Lekki is,
yeah, yeah,
time you go to Ogun State. I mean, don't say it's not appreciated, but during that time, like, go to Ogun State, go
yes,
to do inside that
yes,
mainland. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
what would you advise today? When I remember all of this, I'm like, oh God, I've really had a very bad advice all my life.
And you're very right on that. Yeah,
And as you mentioned, it's because of their lack of experience, they're
yeah.
ignorant, and they are just trying to be protective. They don't want you to,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm.
they don't have that foresight because it is not their role. They are not professional in that environment. I mean, it's
Exactly.
important as you give a balance here. Like, you can involve your family, but they must be professionals in that field. You
Yeah.
need to
I
involve.
will even say involve your family in the documentation, like next of kin, like things like that. I don't joke with that. Get your lawyer, but I don't necessarily want to bring them in the decision to whether invest or not invest, right? I can invest, and maybe I want a family member to be next of kin. I make them next of kin. I make sure the lawyer has all those stuff. Because some people also overdo it where there's no next of kin, there's no documentation, family members don't even have records, and in future, is like you work for the lawyer or you work for the accountant.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least when you do certain investment, make sure one or two people have documents or copies of those investments, not one person, not even just a lawyer. Many people today are only working for their lawyer, they just don't know.
Hmm,
Some are only working for their accountant, they just don't know. Because God forbid something happened to them, those accountants will not disclose to their family members.
very true,
Yeah,
sir.
money you only cover, or this person has this, and nobody knows tomorrow. And it's also one of the advice I tell people: don't be careless with your life. Nobody knows tomorrow. Jesus Christ of Nazareth died at 30,
Hmm,
right? And he fulfilled his mission, right? So be live your life as though today is the last, and put it your best. But make sure that when it comes to investment, there are multiple parties who have copies of certain things that you've done. My mother invested in some shares. We never have access to it today because she didn't give us a copy of it, right?
hmm,
The only thing she left for us in was a land, and it was because she gave my older brother the documents to those land.
hmm,
Okay. So it's wisdom to balance it. But in the decision making, is your decision. Do your research. Be convinced you want to do it. Don't come and bring family member who is not an expert, right? And be telling them to be the one to be advising you where to buy, how to buy, when to buy. Don't do that, because they will do all of it out of emotions, out of sentiment. I've had a young man who later apologized to me. We even met physically once. He bought my land in Ikorodu. The day his sister got there, did video of water. We have started some feeling though. She didn't show that we're started some. She just showed the water part and said, "Mommy, omi lelora, omi ni," you know. And before you know, send me, you know, and because he was like a younger guy to me, hey, bon, I want my money back. I told the office refund him. After
Wow.
they refunded him, he went to buy where the sister wanted him to buy. Do you know he lost all the money? He eventually had to come back to buy the property when it was three times the initial price.
I mean, that's the cost of ignorance in the end.
Uh-huh.
So that's a curse. Honestly, I do really because today I was talking to somebody about because we saw Saka is his family that manages image rights and everything, and I was just telling my friend because in Africa, they have like we have like an entitlement mentality where
Yeah, yeah.
we feel like because you are the aim of affairs or you are in land or you're successful in what you do, you are responsible to take care of them and all of that. So we're now talking about there's no problem with they even having that entitlement mentality, but what can they do as a family member to invest in this brand that in the end they can all both become make money. We're not making an example of yeah, there are players that their brother is a manager or is a professional in this field and they're helping him to manage. But we saw Saka, the parents were the one managing the image right. They have a company now that is making billions of naira, and in the end, the wealth remains on the family instead of
No,
him represented by a manager outside where he just
that's
gets
good.
money and everything. So I was just like, today I was just gonna talk about what can you learn to be honest. I'm like, I was just gonna talk to my sister, oh, bro, what can you learn that would have value to me? Because or what do you know how to do? Like, what is your professional work? Because it's not all about yeah, because it's Rashida Ajibade, and because most of the time our success implicates them that they don't have that freedom that normal help that they will go for normally they won't get it because they were
Yeah, my brother says that again too. That was supposed to get one scholarship. Somebody said to him, "Ah, yes, if I can tell brother, we can't give you scholarship. Your brother is rich." So I agree with you.
it's just kind of stress that they go through and you not one way be obligated to like I have to support them and I have to support them whichever ways but in the end it's overwhelming.
It
But
is.
oh,
It
but
is.
what can you also be doing like that can it could be win-win for both parties. So I mean I do totally agree that even in your family there should be professionals that knows about something before you involve them in it. And as you mentioned, there should be balance. Yeah, they can have the document, they can know about the document, but not in the decision making process. Thank you so much. That was a powerful advice. I will go back home today and start and start making changes around my life. So, sir, you said at 13 years you gave your life to Christ. My question now is how has your faith influenced your approach to business and decision making, and also your leadership style and approach to mentoring others?
Well, so one of the things I always say is that Christianity, and I mean this very strongly, Christianity, I don't like when people almost want to manipulate people with their faith.
Hmm.
It's one of those things I don't like, and I've seen Christians do that. I think that your faith should reflect in your conduct. I remember one of my colleagues at Harvard was saying this to me. He said, "There's just something about you." Of course, he didn't know I'm a Christian. He just says, "There's just something about you. There's this calmness, there's this reassurance, with the way you live your life, you carry, you talk, you move. You know, in my mind, I say, now Holy Ghost plus anointing plus grace plus being a child of God."
Wow.
But that's the way Christianity should be. It shouldn't be that you are Jesus is Lord. Everybody, oh yeah, our Lord Jesus. I think I think it should reflect in who you are. And I think nobody should also manipulate you because you're a Christian. I saw a comment somebody posted, I don't know whether it was for you or for me, about, oh, you call yourself a Christian, I send you a DM. You didn't even reply. You know, I think again, those are also people manipulating. You trying to use because people are Christians to try and manipulate them. At the end of the day, we're humans. We
Hmm.
hurt. And Christianity does not mean we won't be human. But Christianity means that we are consciousness of our Lord and Savior. We are conscious of his death and his resurrection. We are conscious of his grace. We are conscious of the Holy Spirit, who is our helper, our comforter.
Hmm.
And we live our life being God conscious. And we do things with what I call clear conscience. I remember sharing with a client, because one of the biggest challenge we had is that some of the properties we have, some people bought it 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and we told them they needed to pay something called development levy, which is the money for us to then sand field, do road, provide infrastructure in the estate. And, yeah, when they were buying it in those days, the money was as low as with 1 million naira for development levy. But, the cost of cement, everything has since the inflation. So imagine someone bought a land for 1.5 million, but because the between 10 years ago when he bought it for 1.5 million and now the price of cement had moved from that in those days less than 1,000 naira to over 10,000 naira. You see 10 times. So the same thing happened to the cost of their development levy,
Hmm.
right? So many of them wouldn't have it. They're like, hey, but when I looked at it, when our management brought it to my notice, I said, can we show clear conscience here? Now, when you buy land from us, we lose 30% of the money you pay us because we pay about 20% in commission to the marketers that brought you in or process, even our staff. And that's why our staff earn well because they earn commission on any client they treat their transaction. So about 20% goes into that. You have another 10% that goes into celebrities that influence for the business and so many things. And so when in the another administrative cost. So in the document, it shows that if you want refund, you will lose 30%. And they signed. So I told our management, I told the group CEO, I said, in clear conscience, if some people refuse to pay this new price of development levy, I think the least we can do is to refund them. And if we are going to refund those people in those categories, let's even see if we can waive that 30% and give them full money because some of them bought this thing 10 years ago,
Oh.
right? But particularly those in this situation, it's different from someone who just come and say, I want my money back. I pay you 2 years ago. I want my money back. Some of them paid 10 years ago. And the circumstance, situation, let's consider. But that's showing godliness
Yes.
in what you do. For me, integrity is not what you do when you know people will catch you that you've done something bad. Integrity is what you do even when they will not catch you. They will not even know you've done something wrong,
Wow.
but you still go ahead and do it. It's not a popularity contest. Godliness is not democracy. We need to
Hmm.
also understand that things of God is not a democrat.
Hmm.
God is not a democrat. I see the way people paint Jesus nowadays, and I'm like, Jesus was never Mr. Nice Guy. He's
Hmm.
flogged some people from synagogue. A, a woman was begging him for something. He said, well, food are meant for children, they're not meant for dog.
Hmm.
Yeah, if he was in this generation, what would people say? What would they say? He said this. You see, and little wonder why he was crucified. Some of us don't read our Bible well. There's a reason why people literally agree that a thief should go in place of Jesus.
Yes.
That this
Hmm.
guy. So if Jesus walk on the street today, we will not recognize him because
Hmm.
he's not the person that we've lied to ourselves
Hmm.
that he is. Because we have this image of, Mr. Nice,
Guy.
Mr.
It can't be.
Calm. God bless you. Bless you, Rash. Bless you. Oh, no, no, no. In the spirit, in the spirit, in the spirit. In the spirit. And so we've created a mess, a big mess. And sometimes I just shake my head. I wish people understand this is not democracy. God is not a Democrat. Read the Bible well. There's nothing about God that's about democracy. He's not a Democrat. Does he consult? Yes. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he consults. But when God makes up his mind, he makes up his mind. He's not doing democracy with you. So in being reflecting godliness in what you do, it's important to know that don't go into popularity contest. Some of where you will show Christ, nobody will even know you showed Christ there. Some of the things you will do, nobody even know. I remember somebody that I had an issue with his somebody who called him, who was maybe like a church member of his, and and I called one of his friends to help me tell him to talk to his church member, to correct. He did something bad, and that he should correct, and it was affecting our business. This person said, it was a pastor, said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. That's what he told his friend. When the same person ran into trouble, 12 a.m., he didn't, and he doesn't know till today. I was one of those busy making calls to see what we can do for him. That's what Christianity is about. And I never called him later and said, you see, you that you did not show up for us. When you have problem, we show up for you.
Yeah.
That, being and is what you do in the secret. That's what really shows being a child of God. It's not these things. I see now how everybody's doing PR to show they are Christians, paparazzi, and try to. And that's why I respect some of our fathers in faith, like that the GO Bishop. They don't send your PR. I am who I am. I don't need PR. Okay, but I know who I am. I know what I stand for.
Content.
I know what I stand for. I know who I am. And I think we need to go back to preaching that kind of Christianity. Because those were what the SU of those days were about. They trained us to enjoy persecution. We were trained to love it. We were trained to prepare for it. We were trained. I don't know whether you were in the session when I hosted Mr. Oshika. Um, at that our
Yeah,
conference that we hosted you.
I was
Remember our answer to that question about, because I had asked her privately and I think I used time to ask her publicly and she answered it during the crisis she had with First Bank after
husband.
she left, and how I told her, I said, you could have come up open and say some things, and she said no. She said even her pastor just said to her, don't worry, God will fight for you. Right? I said there are some things that if she had opened up, it could have brought down First Bank. And if First Bank came down, 8 banks will have gone down with it. Right? So it was okay for people to carry rumor and say whatever they want to say about her. She held her peace. Right? And stood her ground. So, but that is how we were taught to be Christians. We were taught to be firm, to whatever anybody wants to say, let them talk. Right? And for me, those are still values that I hold dear. That persecution will come, tribulations will come, and the Bible says, if you feel in the day of adversity, your strength is little. Right? If you know who you serve, right, who is your Lord and Savior, you will stand, you will smile at these things. What people will be expecting you to do, you just be laughing and say, I know how this thing will end. Because God did not promise us that we won't go into tribulation or persecution, but He promised us victory at the end. At the end, even when it comes to vision, Habakkuk 2, it's at the end it shall speak. Victory is what God guaranteed us, but God did not guarantee us that we will not face challenges, but He guaranteed that we will be victorious in the end. Is Mr. Oshika not victorious today? Without talking, the entire thing that was happening in CBN came out, but without having to say anything. The people behind the whole thing, they are facing the consequences today. And that's what it means to know God. They that know their God, they shall be strong and do exploit. You know who you serve. You know He will be there. I was still sharing with a client, and I said to the client, I said, look, let God be the judge between you and everybody that has ever done business with me, if I have not dealt with you guys with integrity, I could be, I don't, you have no idea things that could have cut corners, where we could have made profit. In 17 years, we've not made money in our Nigerian business. Dubai business is sending money to Nigeria now, right? And you, and because we don't come out and talk, and and you will still be sitting somewhere and be. I said, let God be. I said, I'm not a difficult person. We didn't go into I didn't go into real estate because I needed money. We're already a household name in digital marketing before we went to real estate. We're already doing. If I showed a picture of how my staff looked at me when I said, "Oh, yeah, it's real estate we are doing," because they thought I was mad. We're already household name. We're doing well in this area. Nobody can beat us to it. We handled Jonathan's campaign. We handled Buhari's campaign in 2015. So, what is it that our guy is going to real estate for? But for me, I knew that God wanted us to help people build wealth in this area. And I'm so happy. So one of my clients was showing me his portfolio of property he bought from us starting 10 years ago. The entire money he had put in was less than 40 million. His portfolio, if we were to sell all the land he bought from us today, is over 200 million. And he just sent a screenshot to me and was sending prayers. I said, I bought these properties from your company. All that I put in those days was less than 40 million. Today, they're over 200 million. I just want to say thank you. God bless you for me. Even in the midst of all of this. Another client sent me a screenshot. Said, people were telling me, I told them, if you leave me alone, I know who I invested with. They don't know you. So, again, it's what it is.
Wow, wow, wow. Sorry, sir. Do you need water? Maybe you should.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I've been battling with cold and flu. No,
Uh,
this is our America. I don't know why.
I think it's the
You
weather
know,
because here too, this pollen thing too has been
yeah, I think so.
everyone here too. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Me, I'm just overwhelmed with everything you're sharing. I just stood up and I just had to, after this session, I had to go back, transfer my notes into the next note so that I can get most of this thing stocked up in my brain right now. And I can see on the comment section people, putting in a whole lot, getting value from our conversations. So, sir, lately on your page you give us weekly prayers, monthly prayers, and you encourage us a lot with your prayers, and it blesses me, and of course I know it blesses a whole lot of people out there. How does prayer play what does prayer play in your daily life and decision making process, sir? What role does prayer plays in your decision making process and your daily life?
Wow. This the first of all, I want to say that prayer is powerful.
Hmm.
But I also want to say that prayer has been misunderstood. A lot of people don't understand what prayer is. People think prayer is monologue. And that's why I'm careful about the subject of prayer, because I saw how prayer was therapeutic for my mom. My mom also did a monologue prayer life. It's just one way, you know. And he helped her, whatever works for you, but I think we should seek to grow higher, go deeper, where we don't just seek to talk to God, we seek to get an answer, we seek to get a reply, we seek to get insight, we seek to hear back. And that's the way my life works when it comes to prayer, is asking God. I do a lot of prayer of inquiry. I do a lot of prayer of unity with my wife. There's nothing I've ever prayed with my wife that God did not answer in 3 days. That I hold my wife's hand and pray. It has never happened. It's one of the most potent prayer strategy I have. Holding my wife's hands and praying. In 3 days, I don't care what it is, it happens. It's one of those powerful things. And I realize as you mature, it's no longer about the length of the prayer.
Hmm.
It's about the interconnectivity. It's about your heart talking to God. And sometimes for me, my prayer is as simple as, God help me. God
Hmm.
help me. Sometimes, God have mercy on me. And I tell people the prayer of mercy is one of the most powerful prayers you can ever pray. Because we think we know each other. We really don't. That you don't even But at a level, life changes for you because your decision is between good and good and bad and bad. You know, and I teach this a lot about leadership. And some of us are no longer at that realm of being tempted by good and evil. You know, we're smarter than that. You know, the options are either good and best or bad and worse.
Mm,
Those are the things. I'll give you a typical example. You are running out of cash in your organization. The sales is not doing well, right? And you need to downsize. Your option is either you downsize huge or you downsize small. But either way, you have to downsize. Else, you start owing staff salary, 1 year salary, 2 year salary, 6 months salary. And I don't ever want to see that. Okay. But it's still a bad decision letting go even if it's one employee. It's still a bad taste, right? That it gives you. And you still have to make that decision as a leader. Okay. So at a level, you just have to pray the prayer of mercy because you don't even know. You are forced to make decisions as a leader,
mm.
and you don't even know which ones are always the best. And you just
Yes.
want to say, Lord, have mercy on me. Lord, help me. And I think approaching God from a very humble, I mean, you can deceive yourself, you can deceive everyone. You can't do that to God. And I see the way some of us approach God today as though we have it all. You must understand when you are before the King of Kings, you don't know it all. And there has to be some level of humility in the place of prayer. And I so admire someone like Daddy Gio with that because even after the years of work with God. You could still see him saying, I'm afraid of this. God told me this will happen to me. You could still see all those old stories of genuine work with God, right? Many of us, because this generation, we begin to take God for granted. There's some things you don't hear anymore about the fear of God. And the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom,
Mm,
right? Where you are conscious of, will God be happy about this decision I'm making? Can I be fair to my neighbor? Can I be just? Can I just do? And not because I'm trying to show off, not because I'm trying to do it for PR. Genuinely, I'm asking God to help me to live right and to do the right things. Yeah. Because sometimes the right things is letting go some employees rather than keeping them in your company and owing them 6 months salary. Sometimes the right thing to let go. That's why I say it's complex, it's complicated, it's no longer as straightforward. Because sometimes it is wickedness to know that you are not in a position to do certain things and then you keep people just because it will look bad. And sometimes some of these people will even tell you they want to stay. But you say, hey, maybe
mm.
you can get a better job elsewhere, right? Maybe you can. I need to let you go. Of course you can do it better, you can communicate it better, but either way people are going to be sad leaving you, particularly when they put in their heart working with you and giving it their best.
Oh, wow. In the end, everything needs God's guidance and direction. I want us to lean on that part a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing that. So there's a kind of Christianity that we're being taught growing up, and we've seen our parents where they serve God with all their heart, and in the end they are not. They are like poverty still they're dealing in poverty, and but do you think Christians are shy away from wealth, and why? If you think they are shy away from
Do
wealth,
I think Christians are
shy away from wealth, because there's a kind of Christianity that is being preached, like you shouldn't have money, like be a kind of Christianity that like that poverty mindset and everything. I don't understand. So when you flaunt car, or when you're not flaunting, when you have a car, when you have all of these big things like Rolls Royce, all of this, big houses, and you are a kingdom person, it's like, are you sure this person money is real? If you're really in God, it shouldn't, there's a way God blesses. I don't know if there's a way God blesses
I,
that
I think it's culture. I don't think it's Christianity. They
right?
have the African now. If you go back to maybe the 13th century, 14th century, before the colonial masters, I will argue that Africans were okay with wealth. I mean, some even argue that the king of Mali had so much gold, right? Mansa Musa was one of the richest people in the world. I mean, if you look at Egypt as well, wealth started from Africa. But you see, the Western influence, okay, by the time they came, and I think it was a strategy to to perpetuate the slavery they wanted to carry out, and the colonization, right? You cannot be richer than, and it's the same thing happening still in the UK. If you look at the UK, you can't be richer than the Queen of England,
Mm,
right? Rishi Sunak had so much hatred because if you look at it, to be honest, even right now, UK is still worse now than when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. So the question is, why didn't they allow him come back, right? Part of it was that the wife was very rich; she was even richer. They had this wealth, that blah blah blah, blah all those kind of talks. But so it came from those colonial, masters. They needed to keep Africa in check. They of course they pass it through the culture. Some tried to mix it with the religion, and so over time, people began to have a mindset of wealth was bad. Only maybe the king needs to have wealth. Only the rulers need to have wealth. The rest of us should be subjects, should be servants. And those permeated into the culture, into the religion. And that's what is going on today. And the subconscious part of it, because you can remove the shackle from someone, but what has been programmed into the mind, it has been passed on to the next generation, to the next generation. So it keeps going on and on and on. So you see today, people think that a footballer can be rich, but a pastor cannot be rich. Do
mm,
you see now? People
yeah.
think it's okay for a musician to flaunt bling bling, you know. But if you are a businessman and you're a Christian, then you must be quiet. You must not show yourself in private jet or business class. I mean,
Mm,
there is just so much of mess how they've messed us up in our mind.
mm,
And and we've all been there. I remember sharing in New Jersey yesterday in my conference that I remember I was in the university. I had this mentor I had just picked, and we were talking in front of the road. And then there was this beautiful car with convoy that passed. I then told her, I said, see them, these are thieves. So he looked at me and said, this was many, many years ago. I said, if you ever want to be working with me, you must never use this kind of word again. I said, what did I do? He said, do you know the person in the car? I said, no. He said, do you know what he does? I said, no.
mm,
Do you know how he made his money? I said, no.
mm.
He said, but you're trying to learn from me how to be wealthy, how to start your business on campus. But you saw the ultimate result of what I will be teaching you. Is it not to put you in the position of having a good car or being able? I said, yes. That's so. Are you saying when the day you have this kind of car and you drive, you're a thief?
Let's see.
I said, I never saw it like that. And that's the reality with most of us as Africans. It's just been ingrained in our subconscious. It's a subconscious thing, right? I see somebody coming from, Burj Khalifa with Rolls Royce. Mm, that guy. Mm. So
It
I've made
is.
up my mind. Thank you. I made up my mind that something is wrong already. So I also think that our pastors also haven't helped because a lot of our religious leaders did not invest in encouraging us to go learn about business, in taking risk. When we have business challenges, many of them are not interested in what are the system and structure we could have put in place for our
Mm,
business to be okay. E.g., someone is running a business, you are not interested in asking questions. I remember, even at the level of Bishop Oyedepo, he will have conversation with me like, hey, hope you are not taking loan on all those your estate. Oh.
Hmm.
Hope, you know, you are not rushing to build houses, and that's why sometimes I laugh to the rest people say, you've not built plenty house. Show me how many estate you finished building in Nigeria. I say, I am too smart and I have enough mentors who have given me wisdom,
Hmm.
you know, to go ahead and rush and build houses and take loan with the level of inflation. Then I default on the loan, then they take over the entire estate. And it's happened to many people. Banks have taken over some of those estates. There are some estates today, people are shouting they're happy. They've taken loan over those estates.
Hmm.
And at any time, the whole thing can go. So the foundation is shaky. Everybody's clapping at the front saying, hey, see, he has finished this estate, he has finished that estate. But it's the loan he took, and he's been defaulting on his loan. And they can take everything from him any day, anytime. Right? Some are already in court with the banks
Hmm.
battling those issues. You don't know what's going on behind the scene. Right? So I tell people sustainable business structure. But how many pastors are doing that with their members? Like
Yes.
the ones I have mentors who ask me questions and they are telling me, calm down, don't let anybody put you under stress. Let them talk. That's their business. Move
Hmm.
at your pace so that you don't lose your place. Move at your pace,
Yes. Don't lose your
right?
place. Hmm.
So those are the kind of things that I realize that a lot of clergymen have also not done. Because we're in a world where everybody is put under pressure. Even if you're not comparing yourself with somebody else, people are helping you to compare. Even on social media, I see sometimes now people compare me with somebody else. I'm like, why will you do that? Somebody was comparing me with Dangote. I'm like, this guy is old enough to be my father. How can you be comparing my wealth with that of Dangote? When did I start business, for Christ's sake? He said, is
They
Dangote charging for mentorship?
actually, they're seeing the future, so eventually we'll get
I
there.
thank them. I thank them for that. But but it's important for clergy to get themselves also involved. Study about entrepreneurship, study about processes. One of the things that helped me the most was I studied biography of entrepreneurs, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, right? So, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so relaxed. In the midst of the storm, I'm so calm because I have seen John D. Rockefeller was this close to bankruptcy, this close.
Hmm.
And the man eventually became the first American billionaire. So I understand how everybody had evolved. People have gone ahead of me. So, and that's why we must arm ourselves. But unfortunately, if the leaders, particularly traditional leaders, spiritual leaders, have not armed themselves with some of these weapons, when their subjects are, or I mean, their mentees, their followers, the people they lead, go through those things, they will not know how to help them.
Hmm.
They will not know. They will just follow what everybody else is saying. Just follow the crowd. Just follow the noise. And I think we still haven't figured out how to effectively nurture entrepreneurs in Africa. The model we know very well is the one of the Igbos, the Ubuntu, but we are losing on those things. I don't know why. We're losing on those things. And particularly those of us who are from Yoruba tribe, we also, as a culture, particularly Yoruba culture, if you notice, we just want our children to be doctors, nurse, lawyer. Entrepreneurship, ṣe jura ẹ lọ, Rasheedat, ṣọ́ra, be careful. The Igbos even want to take more risk. They even want to dare, um, and they're okay with it. But it's our people that, the way we practice witchcraft against them on social media. Yeah, 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 yeah. People just say, you know what, let me just hands off, let me just be careful, they will start talking my matter. But it's a conversation I'm happy we're having. As a culture, as people of faith, we must talk about wealth. We must be comfortable with wealth. We must be okay with wealth. We must be comfortable with how do people make their money. Because for me, I want, one of the questions I kept asking myself was, they see me do a lot of charity stuff. We've paid tuition fee of over 5,000 kids. They see our food feeding program. They see us give grants, $5,000 to small businesses. Where do they think the money is coming from if I don't charge for mentorship? Right? I mean, what's wrong with that? Some other people have grown their business to a level and they want to take it international, they want to grow it more, and they are paying me a token for a whole year to mentor them. Some of those money is what I then use for a lot of the charity work I do, a lot of the projects we do. The money has to come somewhere. People think money is abracadabra.
Hmm.
You are not interested in knowing. You must, and I tell people, if you cannot place five and six together, and somebody says it's rich, you should even run from such a person. If you can, okay, where is the money coming from? Where is the legitimacy of it? Nigerians are comfortable saying that somebody sprayed another man 50 million. Spray in party
Hmm.
is okay for them. Okay? But seeing you in a business in a first class that costs probably 10 million, they have problem with it.
He has used somebody for this mentality. God help us.
You see the issue here. So somebody comes and spray 50 million. They say, where did you make money such that you had so much profit that you had 50 million to just throw
Hmm.
away for nothing?
Hmm.
Right? We don't. Hey, Odogu, Odogu, I come for him. You people go to club, they spend anyhow. Then somebody goes on vacation, you say, see him, see him. So we must, and I'm not shy. I'm not going to be shy away from this conversation. It's a conversation we must keep having. How do people make their money? People must be able to explain, because sometimes if we don't show you what we do, you will say, how are we making money? We show you what we are doing, you say we are charging too much, we are not this. So kò sọ́gbọ́n tó lè dá, kò sí ìwà tó lè, kò
Absolutely, sir.
sọ́nà tó lè mọ̀ tó fi lè táyé lọ́rùn.
Sir, honestly, you just shed light a lot into this question because I think, as you mentioned, it's very important that our spiritual leader they do justice on this subject matter because um, it's important that they are okay with what they have to also have like a knowledge because I bring her from a place of where they will tell you that it's just the spiritual matters that they understand. They lead, go as the spirit leads. So even if you come to them with and they counsel a whole lot of people, but in the end we all have. It's not about battles. It's not all about just deliverance matters. It's all about spiritual matters. There are also issues that we want to speak to our like spiritual mentors on. Can you please, what do you see about this? What do you think about this? Or even their preachers sometimes when you get to the when you get to the church, you're like, sir, what are you talking about? Like it's not really it's not really I mean with all due respect we do respect the knowledge that dishing out of the people, but it's just when it comes to this area, no sir, you should do
Yeah, it's
better.
because most pastors, to be honest, are not investing in learning about wealth and money, and they are not interested in humbling themselves to learn it from their members.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, and so we keep lacking in this area. Just tell members, we are come for 21-day fasting, and there's nothing wrong with that. I fast 21 day, I pray 21 day, but doing all that without, even when I do a spiritual activity, I do reasonably. So I'm not going to shut down my entire business because we're doing a conference. Sometimes if I need to join virtually, in some cases, I join virtually. You must, there must be responsibility even in trying to do your spiritual work, and you must be responsible. But unfortunately, I think, like I said, and that's why I authored the book, The Billionaire Habit for Pastors, because I felt a lot of pastors needed to learn about this subject of money, how it's made legitimately, how how it works, even if they are not going to practice, but let them understand it. Because what you don't understand, you criticize. That's the way the world works. What you don't understand, you criticize. And that's why a lot of the pastors that people see who they think they are flaunting wealth, people don't know that many of them are business people. And I've said it to some of them. I said, some of you do business, but you don't tell people, right? You keep quiet about it. So except for people like Reverend Sam, Well, hey, I run a business and I pastor. Most people don't share. So it then frustrates the members, when they see you with certain kind of success, and but they didn't know you have several investment here and there. There's so many things you're doing on the side. We need to have clergy, and that's Pastor Matthew Ashimolo is also somebody I respect with that. People know he's into real estate. People know his business, but of course, the challenge is also people will still come after you.
Exactly.